Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of our autism story. So when I left off, we were just starting to go into the school years of our autism story. So I left off where I had figured out that he had something called Einstein syndrome, which wasn't actually a syndrome, but was the closest thing that I could peg him as. And what he was doing was very interesting. See, Darrion liked to pick and choose who he did with what. So what I mean by that is, with me, he would write on a whiteboard. And this wasn't something that I did. He did not want me involved in this, but he would watch a show called Word World. And if you don't know what that is, just YouTube Word World. And what they do is they take the word of something and the drawing of it and smush it together. So Darrion would draw a pickle and then write the word pickle inside of it. It was pumpkin, it was pizza, it was all of these kind of things that he was drawing by himself at 3-4 years old. And again, it was why Einstein syndrome fit, because he was so, like, he was doing these things that were amazing. One day he grabbed his dad's hand and walked him to his bedroom. We had on the ceiling all of the planets. And he did this, went through all of them with his dad 7 times, and then has never done it again. It was like this bright spot of brilliance where he goes, look what I can do. He checks it off in his head and goes, I never have to do that ever again. So he was doing these things, but at the same time, he was also doing more autistic things, even though I didn't recognize it as such. Things like he was getting pickier about what he was willing to eat and what he wasn't willing to eat. We got to the point where he was okay wearing socks and underwear, then suddenly he wasn't. Things like that. So in kindergarten and preschool, we felt it was really important to put him into school because we wanted him to essentially stretch him a little bit, because at home it's this safe environment, there's nothing else going on, and we felt that he needed a little bit of a push to get to know people and understand who they are and how they're going to respond to him, even if he can't communicate. He did have an aide. In the 11 years that he's been alive, he has taken off on us 7 or 8 times in places like one of the biggest malls in North America. Yeah, fun times. If you want to hear that story, tell me down below. There's lots of fun stories like that. But essentially, we did not feel he was safe to go on his own recognizance. And so we had an aide. And in Alberta, there's something called PUF programming that takes care of an aide for a child up until the age that they're 6. And so for preschool and kindergarten, because I had held him back, he was already hitting that 6-year-old time frame. And because of that, the school was really pushing for us to get a proper diagnosis, because we wouldn't be able to keep our aide for grade 1 and grade 2. And so that was really the impetus that sent me, impetus, I think is what I'm supposed to say, that sent me to the doctor, and they referred us to the Children's Hospital here in Alberta. And at that time, the definition for autism was ballooning into just increasing and letting lots more kids into that label. And so the Children's Hospital at that time was like to capacity, and it was several months wait, and yeah, it wasn't a great situation. So when we finally got the phone call 7-8 months down the road saying we had an appointment in another 4 months, we were like, oh, okay. And I asked her, because anything that I do with Darrion, I always prepare him for. because I know that that outside can be overwhelming to him, and I want to prepare him as much as possible. If he's stressful or stressed out a little bit, at least he knows when it's going to end. And for me, that was really important. So I asked the nice lady on the phone whether or not, like, what the appointment was going to look like. And she said, well, we're going to put him in a room with a nurse, a speech pathologist, and an occupational therapist, 3 strangers for 3 hours, and you are not allowed in the room with him. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I can tell you what that's going to look like, because I had done 2 hearing tests because we were trying to figure out what was wrong and why he was struggling to talk, and we thought it was his hearing. He did not like the room, and I was in that room with him, and he flipped right out. He kept saying, shoes door, I'm a good boy, van ride, shoes door, I'm a good boy. He flipped right out, and I'm like, it's okay, buddy. All we're going to do is we're going to play with these silly lights, and he was having none of it. And so I told her this, and they said, you know, that's going to be 3 hours of him freaking out, and you're not going to get a good read on what he's able to do or whatever. She goes, doesn't matter. We are experts. We know what we're doing. So I said, okay, well, can I send you like pictures and videos and the paperwork that he's done and all of these things? And she goes, nope, we don't need to see any of it. And I said, okay, when are we going to see the doctor? And she goes, you won't. Essentially, those 3 ladies or gentlemen would have a piece of paper with a checklist, and they would check off what they determined. It would go in a file folder in a drawer, and when a doctor finally got down to his file folder, he would read those checklists and make a determination, a diagnosis based on that information. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. And she was shocked. But it was one of those things that I was like, okay, that would be traumatizing for him and traumatizing for us, and wouldn't actually be of value in my opinion. Thankfully, that is not the way it is anymore. They are no longer swamped by. And the other thing is in North America, we do not recognize a lot of language and speech disorders. And I found that we were dumping people or kids into this basket called autism because we simply didn't know what it was. And I was like, I do not want to miss something really important. And so what Colin and I did after I got that phone call and was quite upset, I went online and I found the best person that I could. It was a lovely lady from Nashville, Tennessee, who is a speech pathologist who worked with lots and lots of kids who had speech disorders, language disorders, and autism. And we flew her up to Canada. We flew her up to Canada, and she was lovely, and she was the one who, you know, even integrated my daughters into, and they were like toddler stage almost, but they were really excited about the stranger who's coming in and doing things with Darrion, and she included them in it, and she was lovely. And she was the one who diagnosed Darrion as being autistic. And I was so thankful that she had that. And then her husband was actually one of the chair people for where the dollars for autism research went into in Washington, D.C. And so I felt like we had found the best person that we could possibly do. And she was also the one who went to the school. And she was the first one who suggested that school wasn't working for Darrion. She did her best to kind of help and try and work out some of the knots and the issues. It didn't work, but she was the one, and I was like, la 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 la, I can't hear this. I don't want to homeschool. But they were the ones who finally diagnosed Darrion with autism, and we were stunned and upset and wondering what we were going to do, how we were going to cope. And yeah, the scary world of autism came to our door. That being said, I'm not wanting to end it on that note. He is okay. He is okay, and we have found our way. But yeah, no, he is awesome. And if you are in that stage in your life where your child has just been diagnosed, know that even though it sometimes feels really, really low and beats you down, there is hope, and there is other people who have gone through it and are going through it, and you are not alone, and they will be okay. And our autistic kids are awesome. They are. They're amazing individuals, and we just have to keep trying, keep striving, keep trying to reach in there and love them where they are. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share with anybody who you feel would benefit from this. And I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later. Bye.